share his story as well. If you want to come forward. And Mark Wilhelm will read a scripture as we do that today.
Matthew, 2nd chapter, 13th verse. Now, after they had left, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you. For Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him."
Good afternoon. My name is Cheuang Kavan, and come this January, I will have lived in this country for 25 years. I graduated from this high school in 1990 and from Upper Iowa University in 1994. I worked for Gemini Incorporated for 11 years. I am currently working for Acumen Global Technology, also known as CAMCAR, for almost 4 years now. When I was 11 years old, my mom and two older brothers escaped from Laos. We became refugees and stayed in refugee camps in Thailand for 3.5 years. From there, my family was sent to refugee camps in the Philippines. We lived in that camp for 7 months to learn a little bit of English before moving to the United States of America. Many years before I escaped from Laos, my parents had already been refugees forced by conflict to leave their homeland in North Vietnam. They are part of a small ethnic group called Thai Dam. They live in a town called Sơn La in North Vietnam. They have their own language, which is similar to Laos language. My father and many men fought against the spread of communism in North Vietnam. They fought along the French in the well-known battle called Dien Bien Phu. You probably heard of that. They fought along the French when the French pulled out from North Vietnam. The families of those who had fought alongside them were resettled in Laos. I believe in the late 1950s. This was before Laos itself became a communist country. On the night of February 21st, 1981, when I was 11 years old, my family became refugees once more as we escaped from Laos. We crossed the Mekong River late at night by boat with 9 other people that we knew. 3 of them were our cousins. We hired men to help us cross the Mekong River to Thailand. I still remember every detail of that night. We walked through the woods and had to stop and rest while one of the men checked out the road ahead of us. Everyone escaped safely over Thailand that night. A month later, my dad tried to escape to Thailand, and no one had seen him or heard of him since. Why did we flee from Laos? To escape the same communism my father had fought in his youth. Excuse me. Under communism, people were forced to work in collective farms, but the crops that were raised went to Russia and China in exchange for weapons and warplanes. The majority of people were left starving. The government made people exchange money frequently. They came out with newly printed currency, and it didn't matter how much money you had, the government would decide how much they would give you for it. Any dispute between you and your family or your in-laws would land you in detention camp for a year or 2. I know this because they arrested my brother-in-law for arguing with my dad. About a month later, he was taken away to detention camp as he was coming home from helping his parents on the farm. As you can see, there's nothing to like about the communists. So my parents resettled in Laos, where I was born, and then we had to escape from Laos into Thailand, where we lived in refugee camps for over 3 years. The Thai government didn't allow any country to come in and try to resettle the refugees for about 3 years. They gave us food only 3 days a week. Most of us became malnourished. Their goal was to make our lives so difficult that we would eventually return back to Laos. In fact, a few families decided to go back to Laos because they couldn't handle the hardship of the refugee camps. In 1984, Thailand finally allowed the United States of America and other countries to go in and resettle the refugees. One of the ways they decided where to resettle a refugee is where that refugee may have relatives. My aunt and uncle were living in the United States at that time. They came to the United States as refugees in the 70s. So in March of 1984, my family had an interview with officials from US and passed the interview. While we waited to come to the US, we were sent to a different camp in Thailand for 3 months, and then to the Philippines where we waited for another 7 months. Finally, on January 10, 1985, a date I will always remember, my family came to the US. Our final flight landed at the airport in Waterloo, Iowa, about 10 p.m. One of our sponsors, Brigitte Christensen, and a pastor from First Lutheran Church went to pick us up with my aunt and her daughter. We had a winter storm that day. I still remember the ride to the car. It was still very cold in the van. Snow was falling very hard. More than a foot of snow was already on the ground. Then we finally arrived in the car late that night. My cousin stayed up and waited to welcome us. As I sat down and rested on a sofa in the living room that night, around the corner here on Winnebago Avenue, that's where my family, my cousin lived before when we came, I was thinking to myself, I don't have to be a refugee anymore. I will always remember the long and difficult journey that my family had to go through to get here. I will always be thankful for the opportunity to come and live in this great country called United States of America. I also want to thank everyone who had helped me and my family during our first couple of years here in the U.S. I also want to thank the Decor community for your kindness, support, and understanding. Thank you very much.